Hello, Sangeeta.
Hello, ma'am.
How are you?
Fine, ma'am. Thank you. And how about you, ma'am?
I'm doing good, and I want to welcome you to my show, the best show in town. And it's a pleasure that you are here with me because you are someone, in fact, who I love very much. I really love you a lot. And more so because of your upfrontness, more because you are so direct about certain things. And you actually exude a lot of truthfulness. That is what I love about you. You are very open about certain things and you're not scared. That is what I appreciate about you. And when I first met you, the day I first met you, I remember it was in press club. Wasn't it in the press club? I met you for the first time.
Yes, ma'am.
And you were speaking about certain issues, and that was like I was just looking at this person while you were speaking on the microphone. I was thinking, wow, who is this person? She's speaking so directly, and she's being so open about it, and she's not scared of speaking the truth. Who is this person? And then we got talking and we became friends, and here we are now. And I'm so happy that you are being able to give me some time from your busy schedule and to come to my podcast. And it's really, really fun. We're going to have a lot of fun while we speak. So listeners who are listening in, here I have with me Sangeeta, and she is a writer, she's a poet, and you can find her writings in Amazon, on Facebook, on social media, different social media platforms, right, Sangeeta? So Sangeeta,
yes, ma'am.
Sangeeta is going to speak, so I'm going to hand over the microphone to her. As we say in the physical term, we say I will hand over the microphone to my friend Sangeeta Saikia Pathak. So here she is today in my podcast. So Sangeeta, tell me something about yourself. Let's begin by starting on your life story. Where were you born and everything? Let's start from that.
At the outset, I thank you so much, ma'am, for your inspiring words. You have always been a source of great inspiration to me. Right from the time I met you, I felt that I have met some extraordinary person of great strength, and who not only, who not only speaks of herself, but she is into encouraging the younger generation so much. Thanks a lot, dear ma'am, once again, for all your inspiring words.
You're always welcome, Sangeeta, always. Because my life, is for young people. And to encourage people like you is my mission. It's something that
ma'am.
I hold close to my heart. That's what I love to do. Please,
yes, ma'am.
Please tell me, Sangeeta, yes.
Yeah, I was born in Guwahati
on
21st November 1983.
All right.
And I live in the busy Mother Teresa Road area of the Guwahati city, and my education, I started off from my nursery class in Holy Child School, Guwahati. Then after my 10th standard, I was in the art stream of Cotton College from 2001 to 2003. Thereafter, I pursued my graduation in English Literature from Cotton College itself. And finally, I did my master's from the Tejpur University. And now I am working in the Assam Secretariat. It has been quite a long time, nearly 12 years. I have been in the government sector, and I'm married. I'm married to an APS officer, and my daughter, she is in class 4, and she's also into the same school, that is Holy Child School. That's all, ma'am, I have to say about myself.
No, you don't have. That's not all. You have a huge story, I know that. Because I want to know from you, Sangeeta, like, what actually compelled you? What was this writing of poetry, writing of different stories that you have, and these are such compelling and intense stories. What actually, did you start off very young as a little girl, or when did you start? I'm very intrigued to know about this.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, talking about my literary career, I have to, speak about. I have to mention my own father, because my father himself, he was in the writing process. But being a very busy government servant, he could not pursue his writing, and it was his own dream that post-retirement, he would start off writing all again. So my father, as a child, I had noticed my father, he used to always go to the Guwahati Book Fair every year, and he used to buy the bestsellers, and we used to have a small kind of library in our Assam type house. way back in the 80s and 90s, where all the several books, I mean the bestsellers of yesteryear like Lolita and all, then the works of Shakespeare, a very big book, and we used to buy a lot about the Assamese stuff also, the great literary works of Lokinath Bezborua and Hemborua, all these Hempuk and all these were very beautifully decorated. So my father never got the time to read those books, but that action of his had an impact on me, perhaps indirectly. And in school, I was a very good student. I always stood first in my class.
Wow.
And I really used to read anything, the English poems, storybooks. I used to go very deep down ever since class 1 only. So in that way, what happened, I don't know. I just used to read the books, and during the holidays also, I would. My father used to buy me books from folk tales about Panchatantra and all those stuff, and I would just read them. And finally, one fine morning when I was in class 8, I wrote. I don't know why, it was springtime. It was the time of Bihu celebrations in Assam, and I heard the koel cooing. I don't know. I wrote my first poem. That's O Cuckoo, and that. Poem of mine, it got published in the Zenith magazine of Holy Child School Guwahati, and I just began writing of then, and then for many years I didn't write. I don't know why, but when I went to pursue my graduation in English literature, I automatically started writing. And my first poem was, while in college I wrote a poem called Hope, and I gave it in the Assam Tribune. I used to go, I used to take a bus ride from Jutiniali to the Assam Tribune office. I got down, I don't know why, I went and gave, and to my surprise, my first poem got published in the Assam Tribune way back in 2003. And then I didn't have to stop. I went on writing and got published for a long time. And I don't know how, I didn't have it in my mind, but I slowly, started writing short stories also. And to my surprise, I used to win prizes, literary prizes in Cotton College, both for the poetry as well as the short story competitions. And later on, when I moved to the university also, I found that I used to get prizes, and that really inspired me a lot. At that time only I thought that I would take up writing seriously. But, I was into the government sector. And slowly, I got married, I had a child. I don't know what, some kind of topsy-turvy things took place. I didn't have the time for the writing process. But then during the lockdown again, I found ample time. Now what to do? There's nothing to, I had so much of time, left. And then I was back into the writing. And that's, I don't know, what happened, my husband also inspired me. He said, come on, writing,
yes.
Start it off.
You have always told me that your husband is very inspiring. I think this is what works, because when someone in the family, and you say
yes,
that your husband is very, very encouraging, and
yes,
this is something really great, because when one person in the family encourages a creative person like you, and
yes,
that is where you get your fire. You start
yes, ma'am. Exactly.
You start getting
exactly, ma'am.
Fired up, and you want to do a lot of things. So I'm so glad, and through this podcast, I'd like to thank your husband heartily.
Yes,
despite his busy schedule and everything, he also takes out the time to inspire and actually cooperate with his wife, saying that go ahead, do it, and I'm with you. There are very few people who don't even have time for their wives, but here you have a perfect gentleman who works for the people, who works for us, and then also works for you. So, you have everything to thank for. This is a beautiful thing. And when you were telling me, Sangeeta, about winning prizes, I'm thinking that there's one thought which quickly flashed through my mind, and this was like, why people like your stories. It's because it's got the truth in it. Your stories have got truth in it. I have read your stories, some of your stories, and some of your stories are so beautiful. The way you have structured the whole thing, and then you have I love to use this word. You have the mystery which comes to some sort of a fruition at the end. And
Yes, ma'am.
you hold the
Suspense.
yes, you hold the suspense of that person, and it's like, when we read your stories, it's like, I want to read more. What happens next? What's going to happen?
Oh wow.
And then okay, this is what was. Thank God, it's like, when I'm reading your stories, it's always like that. I read, and then I say, what's going to happen next? No, I can't stop now. Let me complete Sangeeta's story, and then I'll come to the end, and then I'll be relieved. It's like that. Your stories are very intense. So, you should keep on writing. You have to keep on writing. My God, you write beautiful stories. I especially
Thank you so much, ma'am.
I especially liked your book, Butterflies, Love and the Rain. This is, of course, was one book which I really loved reading. And how many stories have you got in this?
Ma'am, 16.
16 stories, yes. Look at me, I'm such a forgetful person. I was the one who wrote the foreword and I forgot about it. But then, yes, every story was so perfect. I read each one of them. Each one of them was very, very intense. So I was thinking of this story. It was raining outside. What's the name of this story?
Ma'am, Beautiful Moments.
Beautiful Moments. So for the sake of the listeners, I'm going to just read out a couple of paragraphs. But what they need to do is, for Sangeeta's books, she's got a poetry book and she's got this fiction collection of fiction stories. You need to get into Amazon, right, Sangeeta?
Yes, ma'am.
You have to tell the people. Please tell my listeners where we can get your books from. Please tell them.
Yes, ma'am. My book is in both the paperback as well as the Kindle edition of Amazon.in, and it's also available in Flipkart and Google Play and Smack, WordSmack. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, superb. So, listeners, I hope you got that. And if you want, her book is something that you need. You'll be very happy to get her book, because one of my students has actually taken your book and not returned it. I'm getting very worried now. I hope that person, because probably my student is thinking that this is a very precious book. I need to keep it, and I will make sure that ma'am forgets about it. I think they are thinking like that, because all my students, I had gone to a nursing college, I must tell you this, and
yes,
I was working in Hajo. So there, yes, I made the students read out your stories, and they were so interested to know what was happening at the end, because as they read out the chapters, they were reading, and these were young girls who have just started learning English, and they are getting very interested about the subject. So I made them read out your stories, and they were very happy to read out your stories. So your stories are very intense. So okay, first, before I even read out, let me ask you: are your stories from real life examples? Are these like real life stories that you're putting up?
Yes, ma'am. There are real life stories which I have, not entirely real. I have mixed fiction, along. Some of them are imaginary also. It's like, whatever comes to my mind at the time of writing, I mix up my own story, the story of some people whom I know. And it's a sort of mixture as I try to make it more entertaining and more interesting,
Okay. So I was wondering, because your stories have so much of real life things in it. I was just wondering. But then, this story is very nice. I want to read it out for the sake of the listeners. While they're listening to my podcast, it is very nice. I'm not going to read out the entire chapter, because I want you to go to the end and actually get this book for yourself and read till the end, because this is how the story goes. It was raining outside. Rains have an intoxicating effect, especially on young lovers. Ah, what a lovely sentence you're starting with, Sangeeta.
I love the range.
Yes,
that's my baby.
Oh, but before I started reading out, I didn't even ask your permission. May I read out, madam? Can I read out your story?
Yes, ma'am. Surely, ma'am.
Because I always ask the permission of my poets and writers, that I want to read out their chapters. I didn't even ask your permission. I'm so sorry.
I think my stories get enriched, when they are read by you. Doubly enriched. I feel it like.
I'm honored when you say things like that. But then it's an honor to read out. It's a great pleasure to read out your story. Okay, see, let me start again. It was raining outside. Rains have an intoxicating effect, especially on young lovers. But for Ankita, things were very different now. There were those rainy evenings when Ankita would be called upon by Sameer right from his office to get ready for a romantic date. Dressed in a light pink churidar, Ankita waited on the main road with an umbrella in her hand. There was a light drizzle outside. Samir would come up to that particular point in front of a Chinese restaurant in his Honda City car and open the front door for her. Ankita would look to and fro several times, lest any known person of her locality should see her entering the car. Their marriage had already been fixed by their parents. It was an arranged marriage. Only a month was left for them to take the sacred vows. Still, Ankita was a bit apprehensive and nervous to roam around so casually with her fiancé, with her conservative family background. They would then go for a long ride within the city, with some ghazal being played on the stereo. And I'm not going to read out anymore. I want the listeners to go pick up Sangeeta's book from all those different links that she has spoken about. I'm going to speak about Amazon, but she's got a whole lot of them, and you have to just go into that and pick her book up. And this book is very beautiful. So it's so. Shall you speak more about this book, Sangeeta?
Yes, ma'am.
Love in the Rain. Tell me about these stories, about the stories of Butterflies, Love in the Rain.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
When do you start writing? This is what I want to know, because you work with the government. And
yes,
you are a very busy person. So, and you also have a daughter to look after, a husband to take care of, plus your mother-in-law also stays with you, I believe. And
yes, ma'am.
You have to take care of the entire house. When is the time to write?
Actually, ma'am, it's like the mood. When the mood comes to me, I leave everything and just sit down and start scribbling.
Wow. So that means you're addicted to writing.
Yes, ma'am.
You leave everything, even if there's something cooking, you just say, okay, I'll switch off the gas now and I'll go write. I think it happens like that. It happens.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. It's all like this only. Otherwise, if I leave it, my mood goes, I'm sure it will not return to my writing again. When I try to write, that mood, it comes automatically, and then I leave. I mean, all things. And at least I jot down the points, whatever comes to my mind, so that afterwards also I may expand those points.
Wow. See, so Sangeeta, if the young listeners are listening to this is the kind of advice that Sangeeta is giving, that when you have a point in your mind, just jot it down. Even if you are doing something else, you're traveling, you're walking, you're doing something. When you're walking, of course, it's not possible to write it down. You just take out your phone and just. I always do that. When I have a smart idea, I open my smartphone and I just go into recording and I just say, okay, this is the idea I have, and this is what blah blah blah. So I just put it there. And so I think young people can do that. And like Sangeeta, younger people can think of just jotting down and then getting back to the idea later on. What do you say, Sangeeta?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Mm-hmm. So, young people should take the advice of Sangeeta, because look at her. She's working with the government, a busy job from 9 to 5 she works, and then she comes home, she takes care of her family, and then when she's in the midst of anything, she goes back to her writing. I'm inspired, Sangeeta, by you. Seriously.
Thank you, ma'am, once again.
No, because I'm a procrastinator. You know what? I'll say, okay, this thought will come back to me again. No problem. It'll come back to me. I always think that. But now I'm learning from you. I'm going to actually jot it down, or I'm going to put it on my recorder, and so that I can go back on this idea. This is fantastic. Fantastic. Tell me about your favorite story from this book. Which is your favorite story?
My favorite story is, it sounds a bit awkward, but mine is Butterflies, Love and the Rain. The same story that goes by the book's name.
Okay.
Actually, this Butterflies, Love and the Rain, this story is a little bit different from the other ones, because it speaks about lesbianism. And it so happened that I really had a friend. I really had a friend while I was studying, while I was doing my master's. She was my best friend. Mm-hmm. But the story is very different from reality, because my friend, she was from Nagaon and I am from Guwahati. So after we moved out from the university, we only met twice or three times maybe. And then I got married and she got married, and then I think she was drifting away from me. Actually, we never really met after we got married. Ma'am, now she's in London.
Okay. Do you have any contact with her now?
Yes, we are both. I mean, we are on phone, Instagram, everywhere.
Okay.
But the story is just a figment of my imagination, as I've already said that I mix reality with, my imaginations.
Okay.
So this is a reflection of that friendship of mine. It's I feel really very amazed because way back we passed out in 2008 and till now she got married in 15, I got married in 12. We haven't met each other physically, ma'am. I got married, she got married. This story is, it's just a figment of my imagination, so this is my favorite one because I also try to delve into this topic of lesbianism, which is actually a taboo in our society. Mm-hmm. But I just reflected, how or what would have happened, if we really met each other after our respective marriages, And this story, in fact, it got me a certificate of appreciation from the India's Next Big Writers. And this is really very, I was inspired, after getting that certificate, I was much more inspired, to publish it in the form of a book. And I thought that, this title, Butterflies, Love in the Rains, it would be most suitable for the book. And my college friends have also said, it sounds so romantic, with the butterflies and the rains in love.
Yes, it is. And then, you talk about lesbianism. Something that is actually, you said the truth, it's actually taboo. We don't even speak about it. And I remember I had a friend also in college and she was very attracted to another friend, not to me, of course, and to another friend. And I remember she wrote letters also to that friend of mine in college. And we were very naive at that point of time and we couldn't understand. What is this? Why is she sending we always thought a boy is supposed to send a letter or a girl is supposed to send a letter to a boy is supposed to send a letter to a girl. So why is a girl sending a letter? For us, it was like a new thing for us, like when we were in college. So we couldn't really understand. And then later, of course, we understood that, okay, she was very attracted to our friend and she did write a letter to her. And then I think and then you have been very brave. Look at the award you got, the recognition you got, because why? You have dared to take up a topic which is taboo, which people don't feel like talking about. They're scared to talk about lesbianism. Yeah, I do like that girl, but then if I say this now, people are going to think I'm weird. And I don't behave in a normal, as quote unquote normal way, and I'm not a normal person, and they would probably say that. But then nowadays I think it's pretty acceptable that we see a lot of lesbian marriages and gay marriages, and I think that's pretty fine. That's okay, and it's very acceptable. I've got so many of my friends who are from the LGBTQ community.
Yes, ma'am.
So it's fine with me. And I really love these people, I love them because they have their own identity. I think you have shown the way somehow, shown the way of how we can actually write about this taboo topic and how it's okay to write about it. That's brave. Sangeeta, see, I told you in the very beginning that I was seriously attracted to your personality because you are so truthful and upfront, and you're so direct about certain things, and you're so obviously blatant, and it's like people would probably get scared of you because you are so upfront.
Yes, ma'am.
And you are someone who does not believe in hiding things. You are someone, we have talked about this before, and then you always told me that I don't want anything to be hidden. I want everything to be transparent. So I know about you. I know how truthful you are, and deep in your heart, your personality comes through. When you're talking to people, also we know that Sangeeta is somebody who is very transparent, open, honest, truthful, and she does not like any kind of lies. She does not like any kind of things which are hidden. So your stories are also from this book.
Yes, ma'am.
This also reflects your personality. The kind of stories that you've written. I've read most of your stories, and each story is so intricately designed by you that I would really request the listeners to pick up this book, because this book is going to be a gem for you, and it's going to be a gem not only for you, even if your children are reading books, they should also read this, because it's going to be very helpful for them to understand many things. Right? What do you say, Sangeeta?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, at this point, I would also like to say that I am a great fan of yours. I have been a great fan of yours ever since I was a child. You know, I used to observe you a lot on the television screen, and you have been inspiring me right from my childhood. And it's really a great pleasure, you know, to be interviewed by you. I really thank my stars for this.
This is not even an interview. This is a conversation between two people who love each other very much. So
yes, ma'am.
It's not an interview. You being on my podcast is actually my privilege. It's my honor that you are there, because you're such a wonderful writer. I could see all the recognition you've been getting recently over these past few months from different organizations. They have been giving you different. Can you name some of them? Some of these organizations I want to know.
Yes, ma'am. Yes. One is all these are being sent to me from Mumbai, and I have received the Inspiring Indians 2022 award. Wow. Then Rabindranath Tagore Commemorative Award on the Rabindra Day. And very recently, I have got the Litfest. I got the Bharatiya Sahitya Mahotsav Award 2022, and my book has been nominated for the Litfest 2022 edition. It's a long process. I think there's going to be a kind of voting and all such things, and finally at the end of the year, maybe they'll be declaring who is the winner, ma'am.
You are going to be the winner. I know that. You are going to be the winner.
I'm not sure.
See, I'll tell you one thing. When you say that I don't know, no, you don't. You have to know that you have to be very confident that you are going to be the winner. That's it. Period. And forget about everything else. Just be confident that you are going to be the winner. And you say that, yes, I'm going to be the winner. And you need to keep affirming this all the time. Early in the morning, you say that, yes, I'm going to be the winner for that Lit Fest. Again, in the afternoon, you say, yes, I'm going to be the winner for the Lit Fest.
Yes, ma'am, I definitely say from now onwards.
You have to say. And you see,
yes, ma'am.
It works, because all these affirmations, they work big time. They work big time. When you keep saying this, because you probably must have seen some players, basketball players, football players, they all keep affirming these things before they go for a match. So you have to keep affirming that, yes, I'm going to get it. Yes, I'm going to.
And definitely. From now onward, as you have said, I'll definitely be affirming it.
Yes, you have to. And you are such a positive, honest, truthful person. I want you to get the award, because I know this is, you totally deserve it. And you have to get it. And we make us proud.
Seeking your blessings, ma'am.
I am just what do you call this? A mere human. I am nobody to bless you, but then yes, my best wishes and my prayers will always be with you.
Thank you, dear ma'am.
Yes. So, Sangeeta, now tell me, you are not just a short story writer, but you are also a poet, like you said in the beginning, that in class 8 you wrote about when you heard the Coolie Sorai, and then you wrote about this beautiful poem. It got published in your school magazine, and then it went into Assam Tribune. But then you also have a poetry book called Soulful Music.
Yes, ma'am.
And tell us something more about this. I want to hear what you have to say. When did you publish it? And how did it start? Were these collection of poems when since you were young? And do you also have that first poem in this book? I want to know.
Yes, ma'am. I have everything till 2020. All the poems that I have composed, all have been compiled in this poetry book, Soulful Musings. And generally if you speak about life is it's a mixture of joys and sorrows, and my poems reflect those moments, actually, when I am in great sorrow, or sometimes I am really bewildered by the beauty of nature, and whatever feelings come to me, whatever emotions come to me, I don't know how, but perhaps I was also a great fan of Sri Tarun Gogoi, our ex-CM sir, that I wrote a poem even at his death. And I have also written poems on Dr. Bhupen Hazarika. The poem which is here in the Soulful Musings, this poem actually got published on the actual day of his death in the Assam Tribune. So, and I have also written poems of Mamoni Royson Goswami. That poem also had got published in the Assam Tribune at the time of her death only. So I don't know why, but these people, these great people have also had some influence upon me, whether directly or indirectly. Though I have never met them in reality, but through their works, whether it's Tom Gogoi sir's work, or the songs of Dr. Bhupen Hazarika, or the books of our late Mamoni Baido. So, it's an amalgamation actually, and many a times I have gone into depression, and I found that the only, the way to cure my depression is through my writings. So my poems, in some of my poems are very therapeutic, because, once there is an outlet of my sorrows and, all my tears, I really feel very much relaxed. So there are poems on the corona also. I have, like the COVID, during the COVID period, I had reflected on the COVID, and then why did it happen and all. And there are poems like that also. It's an amalgamation.
All right. So would you like to actually recite one of your poems, one of your favorite poems?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I have a poem on the Brahmaputra.
Oh, wow.
And so... okay, then you want me to recite it?
Yes,
I am reciting it.
Sure.
The name of the poem goes by this. Hail to you, O Luit. Hail to you, O Luit. Your majestic waters flow by, spreading its effervescent and overwhelming fragrance throughout your land, singing the glory of your nation. You thereby unite the people of your land. The sunbeams of the early morning rays, as they fall on your dancing waters, create an aura of an always new beginning, as if heralding a new yuga in the history of your lands. Throughout the day, your waters sparkle in the glittering rays of the midday sun, offering some kind of somras to your people. You serve as a source of great strength to the people of your lands. Your moonlit waters in the evening hours echo the great romances of your land, the Battle of Saraighat and the Northbrook Gate, reminisce the stories of the rise and fall of your lands. Your staggering presence itself continues to inspire the people of your land. Rightly have you been named Burhan Luit. O Luit, you are the inherent custodian of this land of the rising sun, the true identity of Assamese ethos, traditions, and culture. You symbolize the fecundity of your soil, but at times you are uproar in a rage of fury through the burgeoning waters to remind the people of their misdeeds across the time and ages. O Luit, truly you remain a saga, the great Brahmaputra, son of Lord Brahma. Thank you.
Wow. Your poem gave me goosebumps.
Oh, really nice.
I actually, while you were reciting, I just closed my eyes, and it was, where I was standing right now. I was
on the banks of the Brahmaputra.
Exactly, I was standing on the banks of the Brahmaputra in this Uzan Bazar Ghat.
Oh wow!
Okay, so I was standing there because that's my favorite spot. Whenever I want to look at the Brahmaputra, I would go down there to the park.
Yes, ma'am.
The Hoti Radhika park, no?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So there, I would just stand there and I would do pranam to my Brahmaputra. And just while I was listening to you, I just closed my eyes and I was standing there listening to your voice in the background, and I was looking at the Brahmaputra flowing by. You're so patriotic. Your thoughts for the Luit is so beautiful. This is one of the best poems I've ever heard.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
So beautiful. Seriously, because I'm a very patriotic person myself. So most of the poems from my first poetry book was all about my country and how my country is being changed and all those kind of things. So whenever I used to feel sad about my country, things are happening, so I would write all that. This is such a beautiful poem. You should I think that you should actually record it and put it up somewhere. Seriously, you should You should think of doing that.
Thanks for your idea, ma'am. I'll definitely try to do that.
Yes, you should record it and do it in a recording studio, not anywhere, not on your phone, but you should try and do this in a recording studio and put it up so that it stays with you forever. And
wow, ma'am.
Yes, you could start your own blog and where you could put up these audio sounds and because you've got lovely poetry. So
yes, ma'am.
It's really great. So I want to ask you one thing. What exactly are your future plans? You have told me about your fiction writing. You are always constantly writing. I see that you keep writing all the time. Whenever I open social media, sometimes I read your poems. And then you have got this lovely book on poetry as well. What are your future plans? Do you intend to write more fiction or poetry?
Ma'am, I want to experiment with both again. I still, I have a new collection of poems, and when it gets a huge number, when it becomes a huge number, I hope to get it published. And my greatest challenge is, I want to write a novel. I have started writing it also. But it's going at a slow pace. I don't know why, because I've never written a novel before. So I'm a bit perplexed and confused also. But I am into writing that novel seriously.
So is that a romantic novel or?
It's a mixture, man. Amalgamation, like my poems, like it will be a mixture of everything, of the patriotism, you can call it, or there will be romance, there will be a kind of romance there. There will be something about, related to Assam history especially.
Wow. Oh, superb. Assam
and that's where, ma'am, when the topic, when the Assam history part comes, I think that I should go for more research work. Because,
yes, I was just about to tell you that, Sangeeta, that when you write about Assam history, whatever you're writing, please go into some in-depth research. Talk to some researchers, talk to some historians, talk to people who have already done a similar work or in the past, so that you get a fairly good idea. Talk to historians. There are.
Yes, ma'am.
I used to speak to one wonderful historian. I don't know if he's still alive. But Mr. Kumud, I forgot his name, Mr. Kumud something. He used to stay near Lockheed Service, just behind Lockheed Service. And I used to pick up my stories of Guwahati, about in and around Guwahati, where I used to go and make stories for Hindustan Times. And where I was working there as a stringer in Hindustan Times. There, what is the origin of Bamuni Moidam?
Yes,
okay, so how did the name come about? How did the name Ulubari come about? So he has very intense knowledge on everything. So you can meet up with Mr. Kumudeshwar. God, what was his title? Mr. Kumud.
Yes, ma'am.
He's a historian. Please keep this in mind. He's behind Lockheed Service, so you can always go meet him and talk to him. And this could be, a piece of very good, your book could be a good kind of, it could be a chronicle. If you're going into history, then go deep into
Yes, ma'am. That's where I am faltering, ma'am, exactly. Because I may go on writing, but I'm a bit confused whether I'm writing the facts or not. And I really love your suggestion, ma'am. You have solved my problem, actually.
Yes, I always, as you were talking about writing a novel and it's got a bit of history, then I immediately thought, no, I should tell you about the research part. So research is so important, because a lot of people have become writers, but then they don't do intense research. Now, recently there was a writer I picked up she's from Bengal, and she was writing about a community in Nagaland, and she was saying that they are cannibals. Without any kind of research. And if she can, you see, people can write about these kind of stories, but you can write, but you can always put up a fictional place. You don't have to mention Nagaland, because if you were to mention Nagaland, then the people out there are going to get angry about it. So instead of that, why don't you put up a fictitious place anywhere in the world, and then you can just say that those people are cannibals, then nobody gets hurt. Nobody gets hurt in the process, because even if you say that somebody, the Inuits from Canada did this or that, they would get angry. They'd say, how come you didn't do any research? So it's also important to go deep into research. So I think, yeah. And so, enough of my advice. I want you to actually advise young people, because you being a person from the government, yet you write, yet you go recite, you go and attend all these different meetings, and you are such a active person. Apart from doing all that busy work from 9 to 5, you're doing your work every day in the week, and yet you have time for writing, time to give us people, the readers. You are giving us time by giving us some of your gems, your stories, your poetry. These are all gems that you have created for us. So, what is your advice for the younger people, younger generation? What you gave one piece of advice, of course, I gave it to them, and I said that they should record whenever anything comes. They should record. But what other advice do you want to give?
Yeah, firstly, I would suggest them, to read books of all the genres, and to make it a habit to learn new words every day. Have a diary, write out the meaning of those words. This is how you can increase your vocabulary stock. And then you should, develop the habit of writing actually every day. Though I don't do it, but I would advise everybody, to write a page every day. Because, if you don't, if you develop the habit of writing every day, you'll never have to suffer that writer's block. Because I have seen many people, who are one time, great shots, and then, I don't know why, they don't write for a long time, and then, they suffer from the writer's block. So, the habit of reading should also be equally there. Like, as for me, even if it's for 10 minutes, I have a stock of novels. They are always, on the list, on my bucket list. And every day, for 5 minutes, at least for 5 minutes also, I would read, a paragraph. So, that's my, advice. And, writing for me is a sort of ikigai actually, because then after going for office work, returning back, looking after my daughter, my husband and my family, I find that solace of my life in writing alone. So that is what, keeps me, it keeps me, always on my toes, that I need to do something. Like now I'm recently into writing my novel, the thought always keeps on coming to my mind. Sangeeta, write something, think, develop ideas, all this, while I'm in my office desk also, I continue to think about that process for at least a few minutes, ma'am.
Wow. See, I told you, I'm speaking to a gem of a person. I'm speaking to an award-winning writer, because I am looking at Sangeeta to win that award that she's looking at, and more awards,
Oh.
so that her kitty is filled with awards. Her books, her poetry books, her novels, her literary escapades, everything comes, makes it to the World Forum, and we can all sit back and applaud for Sangeeta, and we can say, there is Sangeeta. There she
Thank
is.
you so much, ma'am. You are really, really very inspiring, ma'am. The world, needs people like you actually, ma'am.
I am here to only keep pushing you from the bottom. I need to just push you.
Yes, ma'am.
So that I want to see you on that platform, on that stage, at that place where you want to be. That is what I
Thank you, ma'am. Just seeking your blessings, ma'am.
Totally. My prayers are with you. My best wishes are with you, Sangeeta. And you have given me so much time today. Do you have anything more to say, or shall we say that we will speak another day, right?
Yes, ma'am. We'll speak another day.
Yes. And thank you so much, Sangeeta, for giving me your time, because I know your time is precious. You need to sleep early, wake up early, because you have a busy day the next day for your office. But I really, really am so thankful to you. I am so, in fact, I'm very privileged that my friend Sangeeta Saikia has come to my show, the best show in town. So everybody who's listening, please buy her books from Amazon and all the links that Sangeeta had given. And Sangeeta, I wish you all the best for all your
Thank you, ma'am. I'm greatly honored, ma'am, just to be here on your show, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Sangeeta. And we will say good night to everybody, and good night to my dear friend Sangeeta also. I wish you all
good night, ma'am.
Good
night, dear readers. Bye, ma'am.
Bye-bye. You take care. Bye.
Thank you, ma'am.